Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Romance Nights. We are your hosts, Kolleen.
And I'm Marjorie. Tonight we have international best-selling romance author Maggie Cole. Her books are full of raw emotion, suspense, and will always keep you wanting more. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and joining us for tonight's episode. Before we take a deep dive into the book your books, we have a couple of questions to get to know you better.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm like fangirling right now.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So we'll start off, we'll keep it simple. Now, I know that you live in Florida.
I do.
So you probably enjoy the warm weather. But other than writing, what else do you like to do?
I love paddleboarding. And so I actually am from Michigan originally and grew up on lakes. And I actually didn't get into it until last year. I was at my parents' lake house and my niece and nephew had a paddleboard and I kind of stole it all week. And I literally, before I went home, I bought a paddleboard and it was this big ordeal and everything. So I love paddleboarding. I started playing tennis a few years ago. I like yoga. That kind of boating, anything to do with water. I'm like one of those, I guess my parents used to call me the fish, but if there's water involved, I'm typically I have to be around water. If I'm not around water, I just don't feel right. So I could never live in the country without water or in a mountain with no water. If there was a lake, I'd be okay, but there's gotta be water.
That's funny. Yeah, I know. I am originally a New Yorker, but I live in Florida also. So I know
there's
I love having
New Yorkers here.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
My boyfriend's from Jersey, and it's I feel like sometimes there's more Jersey and New York people.
I know. We're taking over.
That's funny. So all the northern goes south. Yeah. I live in Montana and we moved from Texas. So it's I'm tired of the heat.
That's I've always wanted to learn to fly fish, and I heard Montana's the place. Have you done that?
Yeah, my husband is he's trying his hand in fishing, but I feel like the fishes don't like him. So
Well, I heard it's talent. You have to have talent to do the string and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
but it's on my bucket list to learn. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can learn, and then I can come visit you, and then you can teach me.
Yeah, well, I bought him for his birthday a fly fishing rod because it's very different from your normal, and it's very light. It looks almost like a toddler's fishing rod.
Oh, wow. Okay,
but is it the line? It's super long.
Oh,
well, it looks so easy on the movies, when they're just
It does.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm
sure. Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was what was that movie? It was A River Runs Through It, where they were fly fishing, and you guys are younger. You guys are probably younger than me and don't remember that movie.
Not me.
Yes, in my head, I've always been I can fly fish since watching it. I swear it was that movie. It probably wasn't that movie, and then everyone's going to be like, that Maggie Cole, she doesn't know her movie titles very well.
Oh God, was that the one with Kevin Bacon?
I think that's it. Isn't that it?
I can't stand Kevin Bacon.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I have an aversion to him. I don't know what is. I think that's the movie. Was he the bad camp counselor or something?
I just remember they were fly fishing. I don't remember the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of movies, do you have a favorite TV show or series that you watch?
Well, Sex and the City is always one of my faves.
Yep.
I will rewatch it, but I we were recently watching Shameless again. I just the gritty, say anything, do anything, shock factor, I guess.
Right.
Which, I kind of write shock factor sometimes, so I guess it makes sense. But Sex and the City is probably my all-time, always will be. Dirty Dancing used to be my favorit movie. I think I saw it. Oh, yeah. And now I can't see it anymore because I've seen it so many times. I think I know it word for word. So it's I've just ruined it for myself. So, but Sex and the City, I've not done that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I remember when Dirty Dancing came out. My mom wouldn't let me watch it. I had to sneak over to the neighbor's house to watch it because I was too young.
Thank goodness we had those neighbors, right?
Right.
I think I've
That's
seen
funny.
bits and pieces of that.
Right.
I haven't like fully finished it.
Marjorie, you have to see it.
Okay,
Classic.
look, I haven't been like watching really a lot of movies and TV shows. I've just been reading, and even now
Right,
it's like
true.
I don't want to do anything. Like, just
Yeah. Now, do you read a lot also?
I used to read more before I became an author.
Right.
And now I don't get to read too much because I'm so busy writing. And by the time I'm done writing or trying to write and then running, let me back up. So this November will be 5 years that I've been writing, or sorry, published, I believe, or 5 years writing. Yeah, 5 years published in November. And so I started writing a year before that. So I've been writing 6 years. And my first few years, I just wrote from like the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. So I was releasing like every month. At one point, I had 2 series I actually released bi-weekly, which was even more insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, right? And then I started slowing down because just mentally you can't, you know, it's like kind of like burnout mode. And now I have all these books, and there's so many things to do with your books. And we're constantly, I think, as authors feeling like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like that FOMO, like you're afraid you're going to miss out on something if you don't jump into doing this or jump into doing that. But it's also like, well, there's so many opportunities for the books that you have written that there's actually a ton of readers who still haven't read it. That, oh, everyone's read this by now, but it's not the case at all. And so you can totally have a book kind of make a resurgence. And it's crazy. It's shocking because when I first started, you know, publishing 5 years ago was, you know, you have to keep releasing because those new releases, your backlist will, you know, you'll continue to have readers come in, but they're never going to go back in top 100 or anything like that. And that's just not the case anymore. So it's you're, you know, and then there's so many different platforms and things you can do. And so it's just really busy running the business. And the more, you know, I have 49 books out right now. I'm writing my 50th right now.
Wow. Oh, congratulations. That's a lot.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And then that's just English. So then I have a German translation team and a French translation team. And then I have audio and then I have a couple deals with a couple other foreign translations where they're taking care of it. I just signed for that. But, you know, but I also am in charge of marketing and, you know, and I have some really great, you know, my PA Kelly is like freaking amazing. I'm so blessed that, you know, she's on my team, but, you know, but then I have all these other people that are on my team, you know, cover designers and editors and things like that. And so you're just constantly, your hands just kind of involved in things. And so by the time I'm done working for the day, my eyes are bugging out from the computer, literally. And when I'm writing, I can't read books when I'm writing. I very much I have to be into my characters. I don't want any outside sources going on. And it's just like, I mentally can't do it. So I don't read as much as I used to. And it's kind of sad because there's all these good books out there that I'm like, haven't read that yet. And I need to just take time off from life and just go read.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Now, when you did read, like, what were some of your favorite genres or subgenres that you would read?
I've always loved romance. I think Sweet Valley Twins or Sweet Valley High, was it Sweet Valley High or Sweet Valley Twins was like my gateway drug.
Yeah.
And then I actually managed money for 16 years. And so I used to work really long hours. And I remember I hadn't read a book in a while because I was so busy, you know, managing money and growing my firm. And I remember my 2 employees who are still good friends of mine to this day, you know, they were like talking about 50 Shades. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you haven't read 50 Shades? And I remember I just had my baby and I came home. I told my he's my ex-husband now, but I told my husband at the time, I just went to Target and like bought the whole trilogy. And I said, I'm going to read this weekend. So you're in charge of Keegan. And he just looked at me like I was crazy. And he just kind of laughed, you know. And then I sat there and, Keegan was allowed to, like, I was holding him and reading while he was napping. And, like, and my ex-husband was like, well, he was my husband at the time, but, you know, he was like, are you serious right now? Like, I'm like, no, this is what I'm doing this weekend. But that was my gateway to steamy romance. I mean, I used to read Danielle Steele. I love Danielle Steele books.
Yeah.
But my mom taught my twin sister and I to read at 3. And so we grew up in a library. Like every day we would go to the library, I remember. And when we got into school, it wasn't every day, but it was still a lot. And in summer, literally every day we were in the library. So but I grew up on like Nancy Drew. You know, my mom had all the hardbacks and all that. So I do read thrillers every now and then, but romance has always been, I think, you know, from the time I got Sweet Valley Twins or Sweet Valley High. Which one is it?
Sweet Valley High.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, ever since then, like I was a sucker for it.
That's so funny. You say you have a twin sister?
I do.
So you were probably like, oh, this could be us. This could be in the Sweet Valley High series.
Right? Yeah. And she's an avid reader as well. And we used to just pass books around. I remember one time, this is a funny story. Do I have a minute?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
I remember, so my parents, they used to rent these cottages for 2 weeks. And the first week, every summer since I was 8 months old. And the first week there were 5 cabins and my family had a cabin and my dad's 4 best friends had cabins. And so there were 2 girls that were our age. And so every year, you know, we'd get together and we went to different schools, but it was like our week to hang out. Mm-hmm. And this lake is in this like very small town. And so we go, you know, my mom takes us into town to go shopping, which was like a big day during vacation, you know, and we bought these books and we were probably, I don't know, 14, maybe 15. And we bought Harlequins. And then my friend bought Pet Sematary, and all of our parents like didn't really know what we had bought. And my mom came in with, I remember their moms, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what are you girls reading?" You know, so he made us like, which is funny because my mom would have read that book. She reads all my books. And sometimes I'm like, oh, my mom's going to read this. But my mom is a very avid reader and she loves romance books as well. But they made us burn the books so we wouldn't read them. No. We were all sitting there and like, you know, like, look at this scene, look at this scene, look at this scene. But they let our friend keep Pet Sematary. So we got really upset about that. But it was funny because we were all huddled around, like passing around like the scenes, you know? So I guess Harlequin was part of it too. But that was my first taste of, that's fun. But then we had to go back to Sweet Valley High. So, you know, ruined that one.
Oh, well. That's funny though. It made you burn it.
It was, now I look back, I'm like, why did you make me burn it?
I feel like those books are tame compared to the dark romances out there.
Yeah, well,
now, like if you think about it. Okay, so when did you first decide to write dark romance, and what was your inspiration?
Well, I started writing because I kept having this reoccurring dream. It was about, maybe 2 years before I finally was like, okay, I'm getting divorced. So I don't know. I think that had a lot to do, but I just had this reoccurring dream, and it was this reoccurring dream, and I one day went to lunch with my friend, and I'm like, I keep having this really crazy dream. She's like, you should get it down on paper. And when I was a kid, I remember I'd always read Danielle Steele, and I'd put the book down and be like, oh, it'd be so cool if I could write a book, but I could never be an author, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I thought that, because we grew up where, you know, you can do anything you put your mind to. But for some reason, I thought I couldn't. And I just, you know, I had sold my financial firm. I was doing some online marketing stuff and trying to figure out really what I wanted to do. And I just sat down and started writing this dream I had. And when I finished the book, I sent it to my twin sister and I said, you're the only person in the world that will tell me that this sucks. Mm-hmm. And so she read it and she, you know, got right back to me and she's like, I love it, but I want to know about Meg. So then that was like, oh, I got to write the next book, right? Mm-hmm. So I started off writing Billionaire, which had it kind of had a couple darker elements. It was more like suspenseful Billionaire. And then my series kind of started just getting more and more on the romantic suspense, teetering on that darker edge. And then all of a sudden I was like, I just wanted to just write and not worry about, I don't know. I think in the beginning, I was more worried about what are people going to think if I put my thoughts down on paper, even though I was still putting a lot down on paper. But I just stopped kind of caring a lot about that. And then I really just fell into Mafia. And then from there, I just had my they're dark billionaire and stuff, but I did release a dark bully series, a duet this past, I guess it was February that I released those 2 books. And so that was me dipping my toes into the bully, which is kind of funny because I said I would never write a bully romance. All of a sudden I was just like dying I literally wrote those books, each book in like 2 weeks. It was just flowing out of me. And I was like, okay. And I liked it, but, it's a different audience for sure, that likes bully versus Mafia. I mean, not that they can't be the same person, but they're just different things. So.
That was the Wilted Kingdom duet. Mm-hmm. That was brutal.
It was brutal.
The way you left us off in book 1 was awful.
But
it was amazing. But
thank you. I did put a letter at the beginning of Seeds of Malice, because saying like, if these are your triggers and expect this, there's manipulation. Because it was, to me, I was like, if I'm going to write a bully romance, I'm to the point in my career right now where I'm trying not to hold back. I'm like, if I want to, for me, a bully romance is not supposed to be sunshine and rainbows, right?
No.
And so I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And, like I have a duet in my head right now that I know is also going to be controversial when I write it. And I'm probably going to write it after I finish. I'm writing a holiday hire right now, which is, the second book in this Cartwright family. I did Holiday Hoax, and that's a contemporary, nothing dark, right? It's dark, because it's holiday for me. I'm like, it's holidays, right? But as soon as I'm done with that, I'm dying to write this duet that's in my head, and I was going to write it this year, right after I got done with Wilted Kingdom, and then my dad unexpectedly got sick and died, and so. It kind of just got pushed to the side, but it's in my head, and I know that's probably going to be controversial too, but I'm okay with it, Yeah. Like I feel like if you're reading a book, and you're reading a darker book, there should be some shock and awe, and you shouldn't love everything. And I feel like some readers, though, they don't really understand the genres, they don't understand, what dark can mean. And I feel like the world of readers there's a very different definition of dark. Even for authors, it's very hard for us to define dark. Because, is it violence? Is it manipulation? Is it narcissism? Like what they can come in a lot of forms. Right. So, it's sometimes hard as an author to, I guess, really define that dark. That's why I wrote the letter, because I was like, I knew I was going to trigger some people. So
you really can't. It's subjective, so it's going to mean something. For me, the darker the better. Challenge accepted. Nothing going to make you put this down.
Yeah,
I think Marjorie's the same way, right?
Oh, I am. I don't usually read the trigger warnings. I mean, even like sometimes I'm just like, whatever, I'm going to skip it, especially if it's like more than 2 pages. I knew going into it, though, that it was going to be a cliffhanger. Like if somebody says it's a duet, okay, it's like, well, I know it's going to be a cliffhanger. I'm going to read it back to back. And I mean, my bully, like for me, if you say bully romance, there definitely have to be like bully, not just being like, oh, I'm just being mean to you because I like you type thing. Because then I'm like, that's not bully, but okay. like I wanted,
where you're pulling my hair.
Right.
I mean, maybe you're pulling my hair, but not,
Right.
not like that.
Right. Yeah. So like, because I've read like where they said like, oh, it's a dark bully romance, and then there was like probably like 2 scenes where he was just being mean to her. And I'm like, wait, where's the bully in it? So, and I have like a higher threshold because of like the other bully romances that I've read were like, I don't know if this is going to be redeemable at the end. Like, we'll see how the author will turn it around, you know.
If you read Rena Kent or you read even, okay, take Hunting Adeline, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's not a night. Those books are dark, right? Like they have triggers. They're dark, and the authors warn you. And you know, so I mean, I thought I was doing the right thing by writing a letter, but I think a lot of people don't read it, and then they're like, and I'm like, go back and read the letter, but. Yeah, so 'cause I'm not the Slarney one, you know. I just want to get out what's the stories that are in my head, you know, and it's not for everybody. And just like, you know, Mafia is not for everybody, Billionaire is not for everybody. It's, you know, and I know some authors just stay in the same, you know, they really stay in their lane really well, but I have a hard time. Like I wrote 20 Mafia books in a row and I was mafia'd out by the time I was done. I mean, I was I'm really proud of what I wrote and I still love those characters in books, but I needed a break. Right. And even, you know, like the next gen everybody's asking for, and that is going to come. It's just going to come when I'm ready to write it, you know, and in the meantime, I have these other stories that they need to get out.
I know you gotta give time for the characters to grow up. They're not grown up yet.
It's weird to like when somebody asks like for the second generation like within a year. I'm like, but they haven't like come on, like they're still a babies. Like, let's
Magic.
Now, I know you said you used to write like pretty quickly. Now, around what would be your average that you write per year, I guess?
This year is, I'm only releasing 3 books this year, and it wasn't planned that way. Like I said, I was going to write another duet. So I had on the schedule to write 5 books, but it just, with everything that happened, you know, my dad died, and then on May 11th, my boyfriend broke his hip, and then May 20th, we were in a car accident. We got rear-ended. So the last you know, few months have just been, you know, he's still on a walker, and, you know, it's been a really challenging year for me, which is funny because, you know, book-wise, business-wise, things are going great, but it's just been very challenging personally. And like right now I'm writing, you know, the holiday book, and, you know, I just finished chapter 12, and it's been a little bit every week, you know, where again, when it's, you know, when my head is mentally there, you know, it's like, I can just whip it out, you know, like Will to Kingdom, literally. I spent 2.5 weeks, I think, on book 1 and 2.5 weeks on book 2. And that included scrubbing it to send to my editor. So, you know, but this, and I love it when I'm, you know, able to just write like that, but sometimes it just goes slower. So it just depends. So it depends on the year. I think last year I released 6 books, but this year it's 3, and I've, you know, it's all I got in me.
It gets readers to catch up with all the books that you read. So well, you did say kind of like, you know, you're a little bit slower this year, but do you have like a specific writing routine, or you just write whenever?
I'm freshest in the morning, but if I can get on a dictation spree, I do really well. It's been a little part of right now. What I'm struggling with is, so I live more central Florida, and my boyfriend's, so we usually live there. And then the house I'm in right now is on the Gulf side. And this is normally where we come to vacation. And because of how things worked out with the injuries and therapy, and then I was going to therapy as well from the car accident, I haven't been home in 2 months.
Oh.
So, but this house is smaller over here. And so I have an office at my house, and here it's like, my mom, when my dad died in February, I moved my mom within 60 days. We sold the lake house they had been in for 30 years. I mean, it was on 17 acres and, pole barn stuff. And my siblings and I, we helped her, basically get everything out of it. She sold it to one of our family relatives, and she moved in with me. And the whole point was that she was going to find a hot place in a retirement community, which she did, 10 minutes from this house where I'm at right now, which has been good. But I also am in charge of gutting the house. We've gutted it down to the studs. So I've been taking on that project as well, but it's going to be beautiful and it's almost done. But she's been living with us as well. So we're in this 2-bedroom house. And when my, son is with me, we have he's on an air mattress in the family room, which is because grandma's in the other bedroom. And like, so I literally told them today, I was like, y'all are going out. They're like, what? You're going out, go to dinner. You can come back, I'll text you when I'm done. They're like, seriously? I'm like, yes, there's nowhere to be quiet. Like there's no quiet.
Yeah.
But when there's quiet, I can dictate. I taught myself how to dictate a couple years ago. And so normally I can typically whip a chapter out in like a half hour. And then what I do is I send it off to this place called Rev, and they add all the grammar to it. And then it comes back, and then I spend another hour and a half, like editing it, filling it in, stuff like that. Where normally a chapter would take me, sometimes 5 hours. So it really condenses the time, and it helps my hands as well, because too much for years I was just typing, and my hands started to hurt. So if I can get on a dictation spree, if I can be in a place, but I can't do it with anyone around. Lily, I was outside in the lanai and it was, 100 some degrees out, and I'm walking around, I'm sweating, like dictating, my mom comes out and I'm like, really? You had to come out? Like, I almost was done with this, so I'm like, she's like, seriously? I'm like, yes, you can't come out here. I need quiet alone time, so that's been a little challenging this year. But if I can get on a dictation spree, things go faster. But morning I'm freshest, but sometimes it's nighttime, and sometimes I'm editing chapters at night when they're coming back with grammar added and things like that. So sorry, that's kind of a long story for you.
No, it's interesting. It's a lot of information, and it's good to know these things, for anybody who might be listening, who's an aspiring author. But I have to say, girl, next year needs to be your year. Like you need nothing going on, just relax and
absolutely. Yeah, no, they say in life everything's a season, and I've had some really good moments this year. And it, kind of started last fall because my dad had open heart surgery. He literally had his heart out of his body for like 9 hours. I had gone to Michigan to help, and it was right when I bought my house. And then I started remodeling my house, and we were remodeling Chris's house here. And so it's been like chaos, and now I'm like, I'm done. I'm good, universe. All I can handle. I am done. And it's so funny because like last summer, I was having a blast. I was living my best life. I was at beaches every weekend. I was out paddleboarding. I was like doing all these things, right? But life has seasons, and I keep reminding myself this is, a season that's going to pass, everything else. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful I have, the health. I do have my health, and, Chris is getting back to God. It's just been a very slow recovery. And my mom, her house is going to be fabulous, and she'll be in it soon. So we'll get back to some normalcy soon.
Yeah. You've been busy, like busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now let's go to switch gears a little bit. I own 2 of your books. It was the, I had to write it down, Illicit Captor.
Okay.
And Illicit King.
Okay.
Now, I love the covers. I have the discreet covers because I love a discreet cover and I get it now, like why there's a match on the front. So it's so good. How do you come up with your titles and cover designs?
The titles, so my PA Kelly and I, we do a lot of interactive, like going back and forth, and she, I'll be like, what do you think of this? And she's like, what about this? And we just literally all day long, we're like jinx, so, but we pull the symbols out of the book, kind of what would represent the book.
Yeah.
I have a fabulous designer. I've been going back and forth for the last few days with my designer because of the Kickstarter campaign. And we actually had a different designer for that because we had hired a company and we ended up moving away from that. But it felt wrong and they weren't getting the design that I wanted. And then I went to my designer and, some of the things she had to learn because of the spot gloss and the foil and how the printers need it. But she was like, I'll learn that, no problem, but she's really, really good. And I have a couple designers I do work with, but my main designer is, we tell them the symbols and she just goes from there. But when she came back with that match, I was
Perfect.
like, yes, and it's funny. I don't know why Amazon has like it hidden, but Mafia Wars New York, which is a series before that, that's a 5-book series and that has discreets and one's like a teddy bear burning. Flawed. The teddy bear's like burning.
Yeah.
And one's a motorcycle burning. And then there's so those covers are amazing too. And that was a different designer that I work with as well. But it's the designers. There's a lot of back and forth. But those covers, they're good designers are good. You pay for them, but they're worth their money, and, but you have to come to them with ideas and really like what you're looking for. But, they keep surprising me, like for Ruth a Stranger with the Kickstarter that we're doing. I kept saying to the old designer, like, this book is about, it's not about the snakes as much as the tie. The tie is like the main piece. And they just weren't getting it. And I wanted the tie like wrapped into the title. And my designer came back and she's like, first she said, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that because, the way ties are and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And she came back and she just nailed it. And I was like, I love you. Like, this is exactly what I wanted. Kelly and I both were like, yes, that's it. That represents our brand and the book, and then, we added like, the Maxim and Aspen on the sprayed edges and everything was my idea. I went back and said, can we add this? And she's like, yeah. So it's just, it's a team effort. It really is. But getting the actual design down, that's the talent of the designers for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I found that so I'm going to be kind of like shameless unplug this, but I'm going to be doing an indie bookstore, but that are going to be special editions.
Brick and mortar, online or brick and mortar? Or?
So both. I'm going to start with online and then I'll open a brick and mortar here in Montana.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
So she's been helping me a lot. I was like, hey, I know we're doing other things, but this, with designs, I feel like it's, unless people read the book, they kind of couldn't understand why you're using specific stuff. And I was like, well, have you read the book? No. Okay. It will make sense once you read the book, why you choose the stuff that you choose.
Yeah. Well, and there's been such a shift from man covers or people in general to the discreets. And it's really hard. You have to have a really good designer, I feel, to take an object and really make it pop on the page to where people say, yes, I want to read that. Because readers they still buy books because of covers. Some of them read or then because of the blurb, the book description. But a lot of people just one click if they like the cover. And so you've got to have, you've got to nail it with your cover. But you want it to make sense, obviously, right?
Right.
So, I'm so excited about your bookstore. When is that?
I got a sneak peek on some of the stuff. It's good. It's good.
I'm hoping next month is for the online for pre-orders. I'm still reaching out to other authors you're on my list, so you expect me. But, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, it's next month. Hopefully next month. We'll see
Excited
how
for
it
you.
goes.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. Well, speaking with we talked about like the covers and the titles. How do you come up with a playlist for how do you choose the songs for the playlist?
So, okay, I have one. I right now I only have one playlist I've ever made. Okay. And it was when I started writing Mafia Wars. So Ruthless Stranger was the first one, and it's because I started creating video trailers. So I went and was finding royalty free songs, and that's when I actually discovered like Loving Caliber, an artist I had never heard of that I really love. Right. So it was creating those trailers, and then from there I started creating reels. When you reels, you've got so that sparked it all. But it really was from creating book trailers and what I thought represented the songs, the books, for the songs that I was allowed to use on those trailers. So it's kind of interesting because a lot of people have, playlists that are, really famous songs, and, you'll have everybody on there, right? But mine, a lot of people are always like, who is that? Because they've never heard of the song.
Yeah.
I like those where like you discover new artists and songs, and then be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense for like I don't know if you do it by chapter, or it's just the feel of, like a scene. But then I'm just like, oh, it makes sense. Like when you listen to the lyrics, and
it's like they wrote it just for it.
Yeah.
But I think I liked it too, because for me, I'm kind of like, oh, it's like indie musicians and with indie authors, and being an indie author, I'm really proud of that fact, and because there's so many people. I think there's so many things. There's so many things for us, and there's so many things against us sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And you're always like, okay, what's happening with traditional publishing, and what are they able to do that we're not, because we don't have the budgets and things, or we don't have the budgets and the huge followings that they have, right, within their publishing firms. So everything you create is really on your own, and so it's been. I think I kind of gravitated towards really getting obsessed with those songs. Like I used to go walk, and midday I would go for a walk because I just needed a writing break, right? And I would literally just listen to those the Mafia Wars playlists. Like I still do. I'll driving, and I love it. And a lot of people don't know those; they've never heard those songs or those artists. So
yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think like that's how my son is like learning like about music, because like sometimes I'll like when you're scrolling on TikTok, like I've never heard of this song, I've never heard of this, but it's catchy, and then you download the song, it's like, okay, I like it, and then I wouldn't realize that he's listening to it too, and all of a sudden I'll just hear him like he memorized the lyrics by me listening it over and over, and he's like, oh, play that song, like back to that song. So
how old's your son?
He's 10.
Oh, that's a good age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He 14 soon, and I'm like, oh, I remember.
I know.
My son's I'm 6'1", but my son's 6'5", and I'm like, I remember when you were like,
wow.
Oh, wow.
So you're all close.
I know.
Yeah.
Bigger.
Oh. Yeah, well, like my husband was like scrolling through old pictures, and he kept sending me. He's like, "Will you stop?" Because now I'm like, I just want him to stay. Cause like, so I'm 4'10", so I'm like super short. My son is 4'8", so I'm like, oh my god. Like, well, I mean, I know everybody's taller than me, but like when I'm like standing and walking with my son, if it's just the two of us, and they're talking to him, it's like, oh, your older sister. And he just like, and he does not have a filter. He does not know like tonal voices. Like, that's not my sister. That's my mom. Like, so offended.
Aww,
I'm just like, it's okay. Like, well, it's like, it's weird. It's like, it's all good. It's just,
Yeah, I know.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what was the first? I know you said you wrote like 5 years. You published your first book about 5 years ago. What was your first book? What was the name of it for anyone listening who doesn't know where
The
to start?
Rule. It was The Rule.
The Rule?
Yeah. Tom Marco and Liv White.
You'll never forget their names.
Liv White. Yeah. Yep.
That's funny. I'll have to check that out. Because now I know that I screwed up the reading order. I went to Ireland first before going.
It's all right. You're good.
See, when it's like a new author for me, it's like, she told me, it's like, just start with the Wilted Kingdom. I was like, okay. It's like, it's not connected to anything because I need the reading order. And it wasn't. So I was like, okay, now I have to find the reading order. And I was like, I love Mafia. That's my always go-to no matter what. It's like I'll do Mafia. So I was like, well, I'm gonna start with the Mafia. And then I was like looking into it. There was the beginning of one of the series that's connected to the billionaire romance, and I'm like, oh no, I have to read that first.
Oh, Secret Mafia Billionaire.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, why doesn't Dimitri and Anna have a story? I'm like, they do. It's actually the story that created all the characters for Mafia Wars. But yeah.
So we're talking about the genres that you write, and I know you've written bully and then Mafia, and then billionaire. Do you have any plans to write any other genres that you haven't written already?
I don't know what you call it. So the duet I was gonna write this year, and then my dad got sick and passed. I'm still on the titles, but I think it's going to be American Scandal, the series name. And it's about a 18-year-old that then goes through college. So between 18 to 22. And then she's in college, and she's basically her father's running for president, and she's going after the vice president, and she's stalking him. So I guess it'd be a stalker romance, but she's the stalker, and he's in a marriage of convenience, but she's also best friends with his daughter. And so I know it's going to be and I wanted to write it, and especially because we're kind of in election time, I was like, oh, this could be so good to drop actually something really interesting for people to watch. Cause I think we get tired of I'm already tired of it. Right.
Yeah.
And so, it's going to be super scandalous, super and it's in my head, and it's so in my head. It's just but so I know when I write it, it's going to flow big time. But it's going to be really scandalous. But it's not going to be as dark. It's not going to be more dark. It's not going to really be the dark, but it's going to be taboo and immoral.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's not cheating on his wife, because again, it's literally a marriage of convenience, and she's got her own things going on, the vice president. But anyway, so I guess a stalker romance. Okay. I guess that's what we call it.
But that would be interesting though, because the FMC would be the one that's stalking. Considering, with stalker romance, it's vice versa. So that would be interesting.
I've read one like that. Have you?
No, not the female is the stalker. I don't think so.
If anyone comes out with a book like this, you know where they got the idea, because I am writing this.
So I have your back. We heard it first.
Yeah. No, I take it back. There was one, but they're stalking each other. But
okay.
But the female knows that he's stalking her, but he doesn't know that she's stalking him as well.
Gotcha. Oh,
so
yeah.
So, but not how yours would be that she's the only one that's stalking. Yeah, that would be interesting. Right?
Yeah. Have you written any Why Choose?
I have not.
No.
I've had some threesomes in my books, and a foursome, obviously, but I've not done one. Nope, not yet.
Okay.
Nope. Nice. I'm not opposed to that, though.
That would be challenging.
It's interesting, too, because as an author, you grow this fan base, right? And every time you kind of go outside your lane, you upset some of your readers, which sucks. As an author, it sucks, right?
Yeah, you do.
And as an author, every time we put something out there, you you want to put the best version of your book out there, and you put time into it. And it's an interesting profession to me because, a lot of readers are amazing and wonderful. And then you have a small group of readers that are just kind of mean. Right. And, you're always going to have bad reviews. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. But it's like one of those professions where a lot of times readers think they can say whatever they want to you. I mean, some of the emails I get or the messages is just like insane, to the point, like my assistant handles most of that for me because I just don't want the negativity. Right.
Right.
But it's like, if anyone went up to somebody else and started criticizing what they did for their job, they would probably cry. Right. Right. So it's an interest. You've got to have some thick skin, but every time you kind of deviate from what they're like. So when I started off, I wrote 2 series that were billionaire. And then I kind of went into, I had the Brooks family saga, which is in my heart. Like, that family will always be in my heart. Right. Loved, I thought I would never write anything better than it. Right. And then I went into this dark military thriller. Right. And then I started writing mafia. But every time you kind of change gears a little bit, you have readers that don't like it, or you have readers that are really excited, right? And then you find new readers that really love that genre, right? So it's interesting. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I feel like you guys asked me something. I don't know if I'm answering the question.
No, you're
It's an interesting profession but it's also, every time you switch lanes, like, even though I'm still within the same lane, but I'm not, like, you kind of you widen your scope a little bit. Sometimes you really upset your readers, and that kind of sucks. Like, when you have readers that have read all your stuff and then they just don't like the new genre or whatever, that sucks, but it's just part of, I guess, it's part of comes with the gig,
Like, I have read I think the first book I ever read from you was about a year and a half ago or a year ago, was The Auction and then The Vow.
Okay.
And that's that dom sub type toxic relationship.
Oh yeah.
So then I read the Wilted Kingdom series. So
really toxic stuff. Yeah.
Then now it's Mafia. And I have to say, I don't have none of my reviews have had anything bad to say. So it's almost like you have a gift, because not a lot of authors can write. They usually have to stay in a very particular lane on the highway, where you have the ability to be like, well, I'm going to switch over here and here. And it reads amazingly. So
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But I think too, like, billionaire can coincide with mafia, because obviously they have money. You can't be in the mafia and you're poor. This just doesn't make sense. So I feel like those can coincide, as well as I haven't read The Auction, but that's the one where, like, I've always heard your name because of, like, The Auction, and I'm like, okay, I really need to read this, and I need to stop arcing for people and just, like,
I know.
Read.
So that's so The Auction and The Vow is the Club Indulgence duet, and that's dark billionaire. It's got sex club in it, again, dom sub. And again, he's totally, he's so screwed up, but everybody loves Riggs, right? But he's so screwed up,
I think I did a review on TikTok. I don't do very many speaking reviews. And I remember, like, I was in, like, my pajamas, a t-shirt, no bra. I was like, I've got to get this out now.
I mean, this,
it sometimes feels like it's so funny how we love things in books that we would never accept in real life.
Right.
But again, it's fantasy. It's just something, right? It's a different fantasy. It's not real life. And that's where, I mean, it's supposed to be the fun part, right? But I love writing about female characters that, I like the development of characters, right? but I really love like female characters that maybe in the beginning are naive or weak or, just they just finally are like, no, I'm the one in charge. Like and the men just like, they, eventually are fall on their knees begging because they know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go back to the Mafia world. So when you wrote the Mafia Wars Ireland series, did you have to do a lot of research with the Irish customs, foods, and language?
Yes. And I had an alpha team of readers that lived in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So when I write, I have an alpha team that every chapter as I write, they read what I'm writing, right? Because they're looking for plot holes or they're like, okay, Maggie, this doesn't make sense or whatever. So as I'm writing, they're giving me feedback, which I think makes the books a lot better. But for Ireland, I went through my reader fan base and I said, hey, who's from Ireland? And then, the people that applied for it, we interviewed them, and I had a great team of ladies but they're straight up Ireland, and they were like, no, do this for dialogue, or okay, I'm like, okay, I need a place here. Where should I look? And then I was doing research, and then, so yeah, it was a lot of research.
That's awesome.
And feedback. Yeah. And they were great.
Yeah, it read really well.
Too.
So yeah.
So when you're reading it, at least you get immersed. Like, okay, she said we're in Ireland. Okay, we're gonna,
And some people didn't like that. Some people who love my books, they didn't like the fact that it was Irish dialogue.
But if they're Irish, it has to be Irish.
Yeah, it's actually in Ireland. So, and my ex-husband is from England, which is not Ireland, but it's a different culture, right? And I always, stupid me, when we first started dating, I thought that England would be totally like being in America. And the first time I went to Ireland, I was like in my 20s, right? The first time I went to England, I was like, oh my gosh, this is totally different, right? So I have been to Ireland, and I do realize how different the cultures are. And it's, like Belfast, when I was describing Belfast, I've been to Belfast. I've seen the gates where it's Protestant versus Catholic. And these gates are not like a gated community. These are like huge gates that every night close. And if you're not in here. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's it is, in America, we have blacks versus whites, right? In England, they have English versus, they say Asians, but it's like the Pakistanis, right? In Ireland, it is still very much Catholic versus Protestant, especially Northern Ireland. And so, it was shocking to me. And as I drove around Ireland, I was actually in a car with a guy who is a minister now, who used to be part of the IRA, telling me how the previous year he had spent in the hospital because the IRA blew up his car, because now he speaks out against IRA. And I'm in the car like, what the hell am I doing in this car? Right?
Right.
I was actually kind of petrified because I was with my friend. She knew this guy. And it was, so I just, I've been there. And so to me, I wasn't going to write a series that took place in Ireland without actually having it be legit. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that you said that.
No, I mean, for me, it makes sense. It's like if I'm reading it that says, okay, this is the setting, then I expect it to be, I might not understand half of it, but like, Google stuff. But yeah. And I mean, I read a lot of mafia that's not just are here in the US. They'll bounce back and forth with, like some are in Italy, in Ireland, in Asia. So I was like, okay, well, at least you're following. So that as a reader, I'm like immersed in it instead of just like.
Yeah, to me, it's like culture should be part of it, right? So, yeah, but I'm glad to hear you guys appreciate that.
Now, is it my turn or your turn?
Your turn.
Okay, it's your turn. I get so involved. I always forget.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Now, if I am a new reader and I want to jump into Maggie Cole's world, where would you recommend someone to start?
Probably my most loved book is Ruthless Stranger. I will. So it starts. It's book one of Mafia Wars. Although Secret Mafia Billionaire is the story that started it all. But that's the last book of It's Complicated, which you don't have to read that in order. But so you could read Secret Mafia Billionaire first. However, Ruthless Stranger hit its, so April 1st, it hit its 3-year anniversary. And it's literally on April 1st went back into top 100, and it stayed almost the entire month in top 100. Oh, wow. And I was absolutely shocked. I mean, shocked at the amount of people. I mean, literally hundreds of people were telling me how they had read it 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. Wow. Oh, I'm going to reread and they've the whole series, you know, because that first series is 10 books, right? Because it's the first 5 books is the Ivanov family, and the second 5 books is the O'Malley's. And they're kind of like an alliance mafia, these 2 families. They're joined by marriage. And I was absolutely blown away. I had no idea. I knew people loved Maxim and Aspen, but I had no idea that book was so that people had been rereading it. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's like a testament, right? So that's why when, you know, we had been studying Kickstarter and wanted to do a Kickstarter, and we just 2 days ago put it into pre-launch stage. So that'll be releasing a little over a month that it's going to go live. We decided to do the first, you know, the collector edition of Ruthless Stranger. I was so blown away by these messages that I was getting I just thought people read it and they went on to the next book, and I didn't realize the comments were like, you know, whenever I need to pick me up, I go back to reread it, or, oh, it looks like I need to reread it again. I mean, it was shocking to me. I really had no idea. So I think that's probably my most, now, it's not everybody's favorite, but it's probably my most loved book. And I don't know what it is about that book. I really don't. I mean, it's a great book. I love it. It starts off, you know, they're in Vegas and she's just out of her divorce. And you know, what's funny though, I have to admit this. I wrote that book at a time I really wanted a divorce. I'd been wanting a divorce for a while. And not my ex-husband's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. He's a great dad, but we just weren't right for each other. And and she's just out of a divorce. There's some things very similar, you know, and has a broken, you know, his heart has been trampled on by this one woman, and she just wants this, like, she's telling her friends, they take her to Vegas for this like divorce celebration. And she's saying how she wants this, like, you know, if she was going to, cause they're like, you know, get back on the horse, you know, she's like, oh, I would need someone to blindfold me. I don't want to know their name. I don't want to know their details. And her friends, like, and he listens to this, he overhears it. Right. Like that night or a day later, he's like, sees her friends and like, they arrange all this, and, you know, and he doesn't know she's in Chicago and he's in Chicago, right? But this is in Vegas when they like take. So it starts off extremely steamy, and the connection between them is just like, it's just over the top, right? But really real, you know? And so I'm really excited. I'm excited to do the Kickstarter with the collector edition because I'm going to be writing some additional content. So I'm writing probably another 10,000 words for an anniversary edition.
Nice.
There's some ways, okay, I'm not supposed to say this yet, but there's a few spots available where people who want to interact with Maxim in the book, I'm going to write that in throughout the story. Yeah, it's going to be like an interactive collector's edition. There's going to be like dedication. You know, there's a way to have your name in the book as a dedication. So we've just made it fun for the readers, and I'm really proud of what we're doing with this Kickstarter campaign. But I'm so excited. I can't wait to get the sample. The sample book's coming. I ordered it today. But it's, you know, foiled in spot gloss, and the edges are sprayed, and, you know, and it has roses on the edges with hot pink, you know, and then it says Maxim and Aspen on the spine, and it's just, it's beautiful. And then it has a box slipcover, you know, case, and, I'm excited, but it's going to be, and the new content's going to be great. I'm just excited because I know how much people love this couple. And I think, you know, I know the readers want more content, so they're going to get it.
Yeah. How does somebody get that? Because I mean, I still don't. I know Marjorie tried to explain
You
Kickstarter.
haven't?
No, I don't know.
Create an account.
Oh, I create an account.
Yeah, you have to you create.
Crazy. Yeah. So like there's a link. So if you go to Kickstarter, you can just Google in the search button, put Maggie Cole or Maggie Cole Ruthless Stranger, and it'll pop up. And all it shows right now is a graphic, and it says something like, what does it say? Hold on a minute.
I think if I remember correctly, notify me.
Green button. It says notify me on launch. And if you have an account, it'll tell you to log in. And if not, you have to do it. It's not hard to create an account. And so you're then following the campaign. And so right now I just want people to go and follow the campaign. And then when it launches, it'll be 30 days, and it's either we have a funding goal to do all this, because these books are very expensive and all the other tons of merch and swag and other fun stuff that's going with it. But so it's either people pledge, and if I meet my goal, then we go ahead with the project. And if I don't meet my goal, then we don't go ahead with the project. So nobody's out money if we don't meet the goal. So if we meet the goal, then we go ahead with the project. And then after 30 days, they get charged on their card, whatever card they use to pledge. So they're like pledging that, we want this project. So, and it is expensive. Like I've already spent thousands of dollars just on the design of this stuff.
Yeah.
Even the sample copy. So like the book with the book and then the slipcover, because I'm only doing one as a sample. It's like $500 just to get the sample.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I mean, so even that's, so anyway, so as indie authors, one of the reasons people are using Kickstarter is because these books are very expensive to produce. And when we do buy them, we have to buy mass quantities. And so, and all the spot gloss and the foil and, the sprayed edges, all that stuff, it all adds to it. So, so we're using Kickstarter. A lot of authors are going to that platform to, bring their creations to life. And so it's my first one. So I know Marjorie sounds like she's on it every day, but
I would like it has to be like really like I'm pretty sure I did just one for now, but I've been like I know Kickstarter, like I'm familiar with it. So if it's like I like it, I'm like, I'm gonna notify, and then it's like I have 30 days, and I'll pick whichever I can afford, and I have 30 days to save up for it, and then once it it funds, or it says the goal was funded, then I get it. Like I love that idea though. Like
it's for me. It's like one of those things at the beginning when we talked about is. The more books I write, the bigger this business gets. And then it's like, there's that I can do. So we decided in April, right before my boyfriend broke his hip before the accident. And then we got in a car accident. I decided to do this Kickstarter. So we've been working on this, since the end of April. And we revised everything, and, that we were going to go, and then we revised everything, and now it feels so right, but I think readers are going to really, really love it. So, so back to your question though, probably start with Ruthless Stranger. If you're into Mafia, if you're into Billionaire, start with The Rule. If you're into holiday books, start with Holiday Hire. Holiday Hoax. Holiday Hire is coming November 1st. If you're into military, Depths of Destruction, start with that. If you're into family sagas, the Brooks Family Saga, so Kiss of Redemption starts that. It's a 6-book series about 6 siblings, and a gang is terrorizing them. And I wrote that when I lived on Anna Marie Island, and it takes place on Anna Marie Island. And the Brooks family... Love the Brooks family. And then again, if you want to read a duet, I've got 2 duets. I've got start with The Auction and then go into The Vow, or start with Seeds of Malice and go into Thorns of Malice. But read the disclaimer, read the note from the author in Seeds of Malice if you're going to read the Will to Kingdom duet, because you need to understand what a bully romance is. So I got torn up by some people that surprised me. On that, and I'm like, did you read the note? Do you know what bully is? So But anyway,
Don't follow Kolleen or I, where we don't read any trigger warnings or author notes. just don't follow her.
I don't have a lot of like. There's certain things I don't want to see. I don't want to see feces or
that. Yeah, true.
But other than that, I'm like, I'll read it, whatever, But that's me, But I know a lot of people are triggered. And the last thing we want to do as authors is trigger somebody,
Yeah.
So it's like we warn you, but you have to also take the warning. You got to take responsibility for that as well and read it.
Yeah,
adhere to it.
Yeah, and it's weird too because it's like I was on Threads earlier and they were talking about like triggers, and it's like, well, should we just say it's like this whole book like is full of triggers? Because it's so weird. Like everybody's now coming up and somebody said something about like, well, if there's a divorce in it, should be a trigger warning, and I'm like, what?
See, I don't like reading about trigger warnings before I read a book because I don't want to know what's happening in the book. So
right.
As an author, it's hard for me to even write those trigger warnings because I'm like, I'm giving away parts of the story. But I also realize I have to on certain things. And I knew, maybe because I knew I was going into a new territory with the bully, and it was so much different than, the other stuff I wrote that, I thought, okay, well, I need to do what's right. I try to do what's right. But yeah, that's all I'll say about that one.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, like we were talking about it, before you came on, we said like, it's kind of like it's Gossip Girl, but it's just, 10 times worse than what was happening in Gossip Girl. Considering Gossip Girl is already controversial, I feel like the content.
But did you feel like, because I tried really hard to do this and my alpha readers told me I did it well, but if you make it through to Thorns of Malice and you actually, I feel like the hero Dax, he redeemed himself at the end. Like he was all about you, right? Like, and that's what I said in the author note. Like, you're going to have to stick with these characters. Like, they are not perfect. They are flawed to a T. And they're both flawed. Obviously she's not really, but she's more like been manipulated. But she, talk about character development with Ivy, right?
Yeah.
I felt like Ivy was a masterpiece to me. And Dax too. Like the way he went after everybody. I don't want to say too much about it, but I just feel like the character development, and that was important to me that, that these characters really did develop and it wasn't just, she was a naive 18-year-old when they met, but she wasn't when she came back.
No.
At 28. No. Yeah. And she still had a heart and it was still gut wrenching, but she was not the same person. And, and that was important to me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I like that. Like, the shift from book 1 to book 2, like their development, their character arcs, it was, okay, well, they got better. Like, she has, for lack of a better word, like she's got backbone compared to how she was in book 1.
Yes.
But
and he didn't see it coming. He had no clue. He was just like, what is happening here? That first night when she saw him at the charity event and then they went back to the house and he was just like,
what is happening?
That was fun. Yeah. I had fun writing that story. And my alpha readers were like, just every chapter, they're like, send me the next chapter, send me the next chapter, send me the next, and I'm like, you guys, is this too much? They're like, no, this is bully, because I had a team. My alpha readers read bully, because I try to make sure when I'm, my alpha readers aren't just, oh yeah, it's great, Maggie. I want them to give me feedback and kind of tear it apart if it needs to be, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely like book 1 was bully. When you read Dax's point of view, you can definitely tell it's like, I don't personally, when I was reading it, I was like, I don't know how this is gonna turn around, because reading from his point of view, he was just like, you can't fall in love with him because whatever he's showing to Ivy wasn't the real him. And I'm just like,
how could he turn around in book 2, right?
Right. Yeah. So
I think that was what made it so great. That was what made it good.
I think you needed that 10 years for it to for it to be believable. Like it was going to take time for someone like him to have a aha moment, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he did say like in kind of, well, you know, sorry for anybody who hasn't read this, but like, you know, in book one, he did realize his, you know, like feelings, but he was still like horrible at the same time. That cliffhanger, he was still horrible. It wasn't like, I fell in love, I'm still going to be, I'm all of a sudden I'm going to switch. It's not, no, it was still terrible. So when we meet him 10 years later, it was, you know, it was perfect kind of coming back.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys got it. I'm glad you stuck with it, you know, to see the transformation.
Oh yeah, I was texting her like during book one. I was like, "What is going on in here?"
Because I didn't warn her at all. I'm like, it's a bully romance. Like I didn't even like say, listen, it's going to be something. That cliffhanger's rough. I said, no, go in blind.
I think I read a little bit of the author note, and I was like, nope, never mind. Like, I don't really want to know, and I'm just like gonna go in. And I was like, okay, I dig it. And then I'm just like, what is going on? I want to like smack somebody, and just like, you know. So.
Well, thank you for reading, ladies. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Oh, okay. So I get the awkward question this time. Is it easy or difficult for you to write the spicy scenes?
So it's easy as far as it's easier now than it was when I started because I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. As far as I think I used to be a little like, who's going to be reading this? And even though I have a pen name, like, you know, where now I'm like, whatever. I'm writing book 50 at this point. And you know, so but sometimes what's hard is keeping it creative, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I'm writing my 50th book at this point. Okay, so I've written 49 books that are published, and I have lots of bonus scenes out there for people to opt in after the book's over, and they're always spicy scenes, and you know what I'm saying? So I don't even know how many sex scenes I've written, right? No idea. No idea. I didn't know when I wrote that first scene in the sauna in The Rule that I would be at this point 5 years later or 6, I don't know how many it is, but you know, that I would have written this many sex scenes, you know? So it's just about keeping it fresh. And I have to do it. Sometimes I can dictate it. Most of the time I have to write it though. I can't dictate it. I think it's just maybe weird for me talking it out loud. But I have to have quiet and I have to really concentrate on them more. I can rattle off a chapter that's not, you know, but adding tension into scenes and that chemistry and that like sexual, you know, that sexual tension, you know, that's a little harder sometimes. And so that, you know, I scrub my book while I'm going through it. Like I literally wrote 9 chapters of this last one, then went back and scrubbed it. And I'm going to scrub it several more times before it goes to the editor, you know, adding in this, that, whatever. But, yeah, they can be challenging. But I'm not really worried about things like I used to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of like, at this point, I'm Maggie Cole. This is what I write. If you know me and you're my friend, you know what my pen name is. And I'm starting to get my face out there a little bit more. And you know what? This is what I write. And yes, I used to be in a very conservative industry where I manage money. That's not really me anymore. I mean, I'm still a certified financial planner, right? I keep it for some reason. But that's not what I do anymore. And, you know, this is what I love. And I'm proud of my work, you know.
You should be.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. And, you know, it's kind of interesting when I get the emails from people that are a little too graphic. You know, I write all these graphic scenes, but sometimes like I get a lot of emails from readers where they're like, thank you so much. You spiced up my life. And then, but some of them go into like detail.
Oh my God, no.
of them and their significant others. And sometimes I'm like, oh
No, it's like you don't need that image in your head.
no.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we answered the next few questions we had here. But, a lot of people like to know this one. What do we have going on for book signings? Got any coming up?
So I went to Readers Take Denver. I'll say about that one.
Okay.
So I was there in April. I am signed up for one in Orlando in September.
Dang. I'm going to miss it.
Well, with everything going on personally, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. So I'm going to know in the next few weeks. It's just going to depend upon, my boyfriend and his health situation and what's going on there. So, but that's I haven't started even. I know I need to look at 2025. I've just not even gotten there because of everything going on this year. So, to be determined.
You know what you should do? Only because it's convenient for me. You should go to Tropicon. Just saying.
Which one's Tropicon?
It's in St. Augustine.
Oh, I did see that. I saw that, but it was after I signed up for the Orlando one. Yeah. Oh, no, I think they were
next year.
I reached out to them and they were full because I went after Readers Take Denver. I started because I really wanted to be going. I wanted to stay in Florida or closer to Florida because like going to Denver is a pain in the butt. Like it's really hard. And when you've got books and everything, it's just a lot of dynamics. And I'm a single mom and, just schedule the extra time travel schedule and everything away from my son and stuff. So I was actually looking and they were full. So, but I would be open to going that. Do you go there every year? Or is this the first?
I just found out about it last year. So I went to it. Who was there? I'm going to say her name wrong. Is it Lucia or Lucia Franco? She had the Off Balance series.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's only I live in St. Augustine. So it was close. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not far from there.
Oh, yeah. So it was close. It was like 20 minutes.
I'm normally in the Orlando area. I've got 5
okay.
until my son is graduated, then I'm getting out of the Orlando area and coming back. Yeah. I love St. Augustine. It's a great town.
Yeah, it's nice. No. All right, so we covered that. And then we've got the 2 reader questions.
Okay. So I don't know I feel like we asked this, but I'm going to ask. This is from Bailey Ackerman. What was it that got you into writing?
The dream.
Yeah, we did answer that. Yeah.
The dirty dreams. Night after night, those dreams haunted me in a very good way.
Hey, look at where
you're
now.
From it.
Hey, look at you, like 50. You're writing your 50th book, so
keep dreaming.
I wish I had those dreams every night because it was kind of fun, to be honest.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be.
We need to tell more.
Yeah, that's funny. I wish I had dreams like that.
You might someday. You never know.
I think I usually forget them. I think if I do, it's like, how you feel like, okay, I feel like I dreamt something. I know I did, but you forget half of it. And I feel like those are the ones that I half forget. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. So I'm like, God, what was it? What was it? So, All right, what's the second question? Now I'm curious.
It is from Kathy Aruna Owens. It's from the Reader Group on Facebook. She wants to know, does Sean Jr. get a book?
That is next gen.
Okay.
Book. Everybody wants Sean Jr. That's an O'Malley. Sean's an O'Malley. And his sister's Fiona. Their books are both going to come, but they might come in 2025. They might. I'm writing American Scandal duet first.
Yeah, we need that first.
Yes, we all need that in our life. It's going to be so taboo and morally gray. However, I need to write Sean and Fiona when I really have their storyline. I don't have their storyline yet. They're in my head, and I know I have some ideas, but like those characters are so. The next gen of Mafia Wars needs to be really. It needs to be plotted out in my head. I'm not a plotter. I'm a pantster. I have a hard time plotting. And if I have a plot, I go off of it. So my characters don't want to stay on it. So, but I know that I'm not quite ready to write Mafia again. It's coming, and it might come in 2025, but I'm not going to promise that, because those stories, they're not quite there in my head yet. So I've got some work to do, but yes, eventually.
Well, it's better to kind of, when you're ready, instead of just like writing them out because people want it,
Yeah. Forcing that wouldn't be good. Yeah.
Well, Maggie, we have kept you over the hour. I had an amazing time.
Me too.
I mean, and nobody's in my house still. Thank you, lady.
Well, that brings us to the end. So we definitely appreciate you. You were on my author wish list to have on the podcast, so I was so excited when you agreed. So I appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading.
I'm excited to read the Mafia series because that's my jam. And the Kickstarter.
Kolleen, you have to look at Kickstarter and see what it is. So go search my.
I'm going to notify me.
And then you'll see what I'm talking about. My campaign can be the first that you follow.
There we go.
Yes.
And we'll get it posted for you on our page.
Oh,
I'll send you the link. How about that? I'll text you the link later.
Send this old lady the link.
Marjorie's like, I'm on Kickstarter. I got it. Well, thank you, ladies. I really appreciate you having me on.
No problem.
So
Thanks again. Be sure to follow us on our socials and make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any future episodes. If you have any authors you would like to recommend, go ahead and send us a message or a DM in our Instagram page or our TikTok. Well, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.